This is a little awkward.
The Erie Canalway Trail is a 360-mile route that roughly follows the actual Erie Canal corridor from Buffalo, New York to the Hudson River just north of Albany. The original canal used horse-drawn barges to move goods, and the majority of the ride is along this towpath. The trail today is 45% paved, 40% crushed stone, 14% on roads, with the remainder being natural single track. The route today frequently diverts from the canal towpath, which is what accounts for a lot of road riding and the vast majority of the 5,700 feet of total elevation gain for the east to west route. It is 600 feet less elevation gain going west to east. We decided to do our ride from east to west so that we could bike back to our front doors, but in hindsight we would recommend this direction to others simply because we felt the ride ended better along the Niagara River, Lake Erie, and the Buffalo waterfront than it does in Albany. But that is a ways off. And even before we got to Albany, we were dealing with our plan's first contact with the enemy. Our Erie Canal biking adventure started at 5:30 a.m. on a bright Saturday morning as Michelle and I, with our friend Carl, biked from our homes to the Buffalo train station along beautiful Lake Erie and the Buffalo waterfront. The plan was to take a train to Albany, New York, and take 7 days to bike the 400 miles home, camping as much as possible along the way, keeping the mileage around 50 to 60 per day. When our train arrived in Buffalo, each of the four of us were assigned a converted luggage rack in 4 separate cars to hang our bikes, which required removing all panniers and our front wheel. But after that initial scramble, we all kicked back and enjoyed the 6-hour ride and contemplated the adventure before us. So, we had a plan. The plan was initially, we'd come out on a Saturday, take the train out to Albany, we'd stay in a hotel. Sunday morning, we get started nice and early. Well, last night, 7 o'clock, our hotel here in Albany calls and says, we don't have a reservation anymore because they're hosting a lot of the migrants being shipped north by the southern states. So, we had to scramble, and we found a place over in Schenectady, which is 30 miles up trail. So, we got off the train, now we're going to bike those miles and stay the night in Schenectady and then start fresh. The ride to Schenectady starts through the Riverfront Preserve along the Hudson River before working its way through commercial complexes and residential neighborhoods to connect to the Empire State Trail. It is worth mentioning that the Empire State Trail is the parent trail system that encompasses the various local trails that will get us home. Although some signage is less than optimal, for the most part all you need to do is follow the Empire Trail signs to get where you are going. On the way to Schenectady, the trail starts to run along the Mohawk River, which was made part of the Erie Canal when the canal expanded in 1913. This was done by building lift locks along the river, and the first lock you will come across is Lock 7. The locks are natural places to take a break and catch up with other bikers, as they all tend to have a porta potty on site along with potable water, and some allow camping. When it comes to camping, I'm happy to report that campsites are a lot easier to find along the canal than one is led to believe via the Erie Canal Trail website. When we spoke to a lockmaster, he said every lock that had a porta potty on site is available for camping at the discretion of the lockmaster. The Canal Corporation that manages the trail have these 3D barcode signs at every location that allows camping for the campers to do a survey, and we found these at Lock 7, 8, and 16, which are not listed on the Canal Corporation website as campsites. At Lock 11 near Amsterdam, the trail is on the opposite side of the river from the lock, and there was definitely signs of people camping there. We took a lunch at this location. We all noted it would have been a great campsite. So it's the end of day one, and we have another change of plans. We've had our hotel issues, we've had mechanical issues, rider health issues, weather issues. It is only the end of day one, and we're still on Plan C, I think. And we're holding up in this less than optimal hotel room for the night as a big storm rolls through, and we're going to start fresh tomorrow. In the town of Sprakers, we came across the Reformed Church along the trail, which really laid out the red carpet for bikers by opening up their church hall with shelter, food, bathrooms, and water. We wish we had known about this place the night before, as we would have preferred to throw down our sleeping pads on this concrete floor over the spider-infested hotel. So I'm currently having to pedal downhill into a headwind because we took a detour off the trail, and it brought us up over this ridge, and we're more exposed. The good news is we have been dodging the rain all day. It was behind us and in front of us, but we haven't got hit yet. Knock on wood. So much for dodging the damn storms. At least it's not a cold rain. Well, we're back on trail, but not out of the rain. So I think this is gonna be with us for a while. And you just got to embrace the suck. Holy crow.
This rainy day eventually ended at Lock 20 Pavilion, which had power outlets and was occupied by a group of retired firemen and police who set us up with hot food and beer. A welcome end to a long, wet day.
So it's bright and early on the day following our torrential downpour. And now we're hitting the section of trail, which is nice, soft, double track. Yeah, it's a little bit harder to keep moving. Off to the side here, you can see through the trees occasionally the old canal. And right now I believe the current canal is off to our right.
Lock 21 is a great stop, where I got a chance to watch the locks in action and with some drone time was able to appreciate the incredible scale of the canal. We ended day 3 at Green Lakes State Park, which was a reasonably nice spot, but with a lot of hill climbing to get to our campsite from the trail. We were fairly impressed with our ride through Syracuse, which was made even better by a morning stop for fresh bagels. What would have been a less than fun ride along a 5-lane commercial strip was quite nice, as they had built a bike lane directly down the middle of the road, even with dedicated signage and traffic lights for the bikes. Even after this section, the downtown area was beautiful and clean, and the Creek Walk trail was even nicer. With it all ending at the southern tip of Onondaga Lake. Just after Syracuse, we started to see groups from another eastbound ride, and had a chance to catch up with some of them in the small towns along the way. There eventually comes a point where the trail is diverted around the Montezuma Wildlife Refuge, and you get a lot of road riding, most of it on Route 31, which can be a very busy commercial road.
Well, we found ourselves a little change of route. Get us off Route 31, which was pretty heavy commercial traffic, 55 mile an hour. And less shoulders here, but much less traffic.
It was in this area that we ended day 4 at the River Crossing Campground, which bent over backwards for us by keeping their store open longer, along with the pool, which was an absolute heaven after a long humid day in the saddle. We started day 5 nice and early, enjoying the scenery and the cooler temperatures. It is somewhere around Newark that the trail gets back onto the towpath trail and stays there all the way to Lockport. It is this section between Newark and Lockport that is almost completely flat, and after fighting the elements in the hills on the eastern section, we really started to enjoy ourselves, and all the canal towns along the way that broke up the ride and gave us something to look at, although it comes at a cost of less shade. It is in this section that we really got the chance to see how the canal affected these towns, how some towns have embraced the canal as part of their identity, how some towns have made good use of old canal remnants, all of the artwork along the canal, and also just appreciate the engineering marvel that the canal is. Old aqueducts that give you a glimpse into how they were built, current aqueducts that carry the canal over existing rivers, roads that go under the canal, and the locks and lift bridges. Getting through Rochester was pretty easy, as long as one pays attention to the signage, especially where the Genesee Greenway Trail intersects south of the city. We ended day 6 in the town of Middleport, which in addition to a powered pavilion, had bathrooms and showers available to bikers. We biked into Lockport early on our last day, and after grabbing some pictures around the locks there, we grabbed breakfast at Tom's Diner, which is right next to the canal and quite popular with bikers that morning. And before we knew it, we were along the Niagara River. The trail along the river is quite popular with bikers and walkers, and Buffalo has made some great strides in making the few remaining road sections as safe as possible. Eventually, we reached the overlook that is over the Black Rock Canal, the Peace Bridge to Canada, and the start of the Niagara River at Lake Erie. From here, it was just a few short miles to the 0-mile marker at the Buffalo Canal side. The Erie Canal Trail was a fun but challenging ride with more than enough scenery, history, and culture to make for an excellent trip. Hopefully you'll get the chance to do this ride, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments.